Well, like how would a young person who aspires to be you one day? I mean, where should they start? I'm kind of ignorant on the entire career path of journalism. Is it just getting writing out there? I mean, I mean, I would assume that's like the first step, just having enough writing samples that somebody like you can look at and say, you know what, this person actually gets it.
Absolutely. Having something that you've written, and by the way, it doesn't necessarily have to be in a flagship outlet,
Right.
right?
Right.
Maybe you've been in college working for your college newspaper, okay? Maybe you're working for the local community newspaper in your hometown. But those writing samples should show two things. One, that you know how to report an issue, think it through, present it, and two, that you have some basic ability to get words onto paper in a way that people can actually read, right? And by the way, that's a really important thing. And sadly, becoming a bigger issue as we look at some of these national test scores, it's becoming kids are struggling to learn how to write and to write effectively and write well.
Well, this is
Um,
terrifying. That's
yeah,
terrifying because I'll quote Jordan Peterson. I assume you know and probably like Jordan Peterson, but he
yes,
says something that, and he says it often, and it really struck me. And it was, you can't distinguish writing from thinking. And if
correct.
you're, and I think that's true because look, I can think deeply about a subject, but I'm not really. It's scattered. You know, it's a mix of like imagery and words, and it's, you know, if I'm really going to say something, if I'm going to really think through something, I do have to write it down. I probably don't do that enough. I wish I journaled. I don't journal, but I would like to think that I'd have a really good one if I did.
Yeah.
But you know, I try to write. I've tried to get back more into more op-eds. Wall Street Journal was kind enough to publish one of mine just last week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that so it's frightening to think then that if writing is really that bad, then it follows that perhaps our ability to think through things is equally bad,
Right.
and that's not good for America.
No, and scatterbrained, you know. And also another small thing, but to be able to write logically and write
Hmm.
uh, coherently and to write briefly and get your point across, right?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
you know, the other it kind of kills me is yeah, online space is great. You can go for 6,000 words, but you can say 6,000 words and not have any of them mean anything. You know, there's
Yeah.
certain discipline to actually being able to get an idea across in a specific amount of space.
And our
We need
kids being
that.
taught that, you know, and I don't know what the curriculum, I'm assuming it's the same as when I grew up, right? It's like, you know, let's say you want to make a persuasive argument. You know, you have sort of three arguments. You tell them what you're going to tell them, three arguments, tell them what you told them. Pretty simple, but it almost doesn't seem like that kind of analysis is working anymore. I mean, to kids, I'm sure kids still have debate clubs. I'm sure it depends on the school. You know, I don't
Yes.
I just don't know. But it's, yeah, it's frightening to think of.
I think we have certain schools that are doing a really good job, but
Hmm.
unfortunately, I think we have huge swaths of educational systems that are doing a horrific job. And that's the problem is that, you know, I mean, a lot of middle class parents, especially if they have the ability to sort of choose where they're going to live and the place they're going to buy their house, they do that because they know that they're moving into an adequate or good school system. But this gets back to my whole kind of school choice thing is that we need to be giving those parents that aren't necessarily don't have that economic luxury the same opportunity for their kids to learn to do the most basic and important skills.